Hi, in today's video I wanted to go through and show you how to frame some of your artwork. And so I put a little frame together here, and I thought I'd go through and show you how to go about and building a frame like that. Alright, so let's move this out of the way and get started. I'm going to slide this out of the way over here just so that it's out of the way, and then we can take and work here in this area. So the first thing I'm going to do is you might have your own Inkscape art that you've already drawn, or you might like to import like a photograph or something like that that you might have. So I'm going to go ahead and open or import one of the images that I have that we can frame, and I happen to be using my leaf here. It's a big image relative to Inkscape and the things I have, but I'll show you how to work with that. So we're going to embed that. All right, takes a minute to load it. And you notice the picture in my case comes up really big. All right. Okay. So I want to go through and scale that down. So I hit the control key and hold the corner, and that'll allow me to scale my photograph proportionally to where I want it, so it sits in the middle of my picture drawing area. And then I can zoom in on it, okay, to go ahead and frame it. If I want to make it a little bit bigger, I can do that. It doesn't have to necessarily be in the middle. It can be it's sort of in the middle, but it can be almost any place you want. All right, now the next step is I'm going to put around my mat board. So I want to go up and check my fill and stroke because I'm going to be using that. I've got my fill and stroke. I'm going to have that turned off, fills turned off, stroke, everything set to 0. That's all right. And I'm going to draw a rectangle, and I want to get it relatively centered around my picture. Okay, that's going to be okay. You'll notice it's on top. All right, I could change the opacity of it a little bit so I can see my picture underneath. All right, and that'll allow me to take in, scale it and move it to where it's roughly in the center. Okay, all right, so that looks pretty good there. I'll bring the opacity back on. I got to select it first. Okay, and then just to show you the effect that actually you could use that to make a cool filter, and I want to put that on the bottom. Okay, and then my picture pops up on top. So while I still have my mat board selected, I can go through and I can change the colors of it. I can select any color I like for my mat. I can have a beige color, that looks pretty good. I could have a green color, don't really like that so much, sort of like a darker color. But let's try the red that we were working with earlier. That's too pinkish. That's too pinkish. Oh, we've got the opacity turned down. So let's make sure the opacity turns up. Now that's too dark. So that works just about right. Okay. You notice that my image maybe isn't quite in the center, but we'll align all that here in a minute. So with the mat board, all right, with my mat cut, now I want to frame that mat. Okay, make sure my fill's on. I also want to make sure my stroke's on. And then I can go through, and by changing the stroke to, let's say, 7, you get a nice stroke on the outside. It sort of represents a frame. Now you can play with that. You can select that, and you can make that as big as you like. If you want to go to 14 to see what effect you get. If you want a bigger frame, you could go to 28. You can do all kinds of frames. You can take and go through and change the color. All right, you can do almost anything you like. All right, with that. But I sort of like to have a thinner stroke on mine, so I'm going to go back down to 7 for my frame. All right, proportional to that. Now, there we go. We have our frame. All right. Now the next step is to put a cutout, like a white cutout, around the picture that you often see in sort of different color mat boards. So and I'm going to draw another rectangle. Now this one I want to make sure again that I've got my color there, red. That's probably going to be okay. I don't really want red, but I'm going to go through and change the color right now. I'm going to have that. I could do it a variety of ways. I can do it my slide. I'm playing with the stroke, so I really don't need to do that. We'll play with that in a minute. I want the fill, and I'm going to have the fill to be white. And I'm going to have the stroke paint Actually, I'm going to probably turn the stroke right off. And again, I can check and see the opacity of it. And there's my picture underneath, all right? So what I need to do then, again with this selected, all right, go up here and select the point. I want to slide that not all the way to the bottom, but just down one, so it's under the picture but above the red mat board. And there I've got the white color. All right, okay. Now, it's a good time now to go ahead and hold the Shift key, select my mat board, select I turned it off, the cutout portion and the picture, and then by coming up here and using my object and align and distribute, I can align them vertically and I can align them horizontally. All right, and now I've centered the picture inside my frame. If I wanted, I could go through then and select just this, and if I wanted it shifted out just a little bit, I can hold the Shift key, and you can see that I can bring out my picture frame a little bit. If I wanted to hold the Shift key, I could do it on a vertical thing, and now I've got my frame. The last thing I like to add in these is a little shadow around the bottom of my frame and on the side that sort of reflects the lighting. So if I zoom in just a little bit, that's probably going to be too much. Maybe I'll have to go back to where I was. All right. And I can do that with the pencil tool. In the shadow, if the light shines on a frame, you usually get a shadow a little bit below the corner here, and it ends a little bit below the corner here. So I can go use any of my drawing tools, and I'm going to draw by holding the Control key. I'm going to draw a line there to about there. Click. Oops, hit an extra spot. Edit, undo. And click at the end there. I don't want to take and do that, so I want just a nice straight line. I'll get my straight line like I want. And then once I start drawing it, hold the Control key, and then that makes me draw a perfectly straight line. And that's probably pretty good there. Now, the key to that is to change the stroke. And I'm going to change the stroke just about 2. Just a little bit, maybe even as much as 3. And then I'm going to go through and I'm going to blur it. Okay, I want to make sure it's selected. Let's see, you got it selected there. I actually just wanted one line. And I'm going to select that one there, okay, and then I'm going to go up here, Object, and I'm going to go ahead and group them. Okay, now in the process of doing that, then I want to take and just up the blur just a little bit. And the easiest way to do that is to change it with the little arrows here that give me the blur that I want. All right, okay. Opacity's okay, blur's okay. I'm going to select this. I want to make sure the stroke is on both of these 2. There, now my shadow's just perfect. And I want to take and move that shadow in. I'm going to hit I want to move it up, just hit the Shift key and just bring it in just a little bit in that direction. And then the Shift key on this one and bring it a little bit in that direction. And there I have my final picture with my shadows. If I want to boost the shadows up, I can move those nodes up. Everything's aligned pretty well, and I've got a pretty nice frame picture. I hope you found this helpful, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you frame some of your artwork.